Good evening, everyone. Today, is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So who sent this? Chanchal sent this.
Yes, sir.
Today I received 2-3 more plans. So I'll quickly review them and then go back to AutoCAD. So basically what I noticed actually, we have provided the dimensions. Okay, you can put a X in here. That is fine if you are using this sign. Still like and yeah, this master bathroom, this is way too much big. You can see the size, 12 feet by 10 feet. That is almost a size of a bedroom, a single bedded bedroom. So I
Yes,
think,
sir. I wanted to keep it a big one because I have provided a shower cube in it, so it's taking a lot of space. It's 6 by 6 of shower cube.
okay. Yeah, you can still adjust it. Like if you rotate this thing this side or maybe because it is weight, because this is, you can do this for the first floor or the second floor, because there will also get this particular area which you are using in ground floor, this parking area. You can also utilize this thing, so you can add another bedroom with a bigger bathroom like this. But for ground floor I'll suggest that if you can like just reduce this space. But still fine, if there is a requirement, you can go for it. At the bedroom dimensions, these are fine. And I also like this kind of arrangement actually. But one more thing that is like to be noted as when we'll be planning for bathrooms in this way, there will be problems regarding the sewer pipes. Okay. This will not be a problem in case of multi-storied buildings like flats and apartments, because in those cases the repetition comes into picture. Okay, if you are repeating this plan again and again in each floor, so you get an advantage that one there will be two your pits, so you can provide a sewer line in this portion and here as well, and you can like cover them with the facade and jalis, something kind of that. So I'm talking about the SATs. Are you getting it? Like the
Yes, sir. Yes,
SATs,
sir.
yeah, that will cover the pipelines on and all those things. So in that case, it is possible because it will be repeated and it will be continued up to the 10th or 12th floor. So in that case, it doesn't matter that much. But for a small residential house, it may cause some problems because you'll be needing extra pipelines. You need to provide angle slopes to them because these are too far away. That's why. And the upper up part of the room, that is more or less same, and like someone else also did this. And the same thing with the puja room, and it is fine. And the scale is 1:3. How?
So when I plotted it, it was showing 1:3. So
See, don't see those automated created those scales, because you have plotted it in real dimension, right? 720 inches, 12 feet, 13 feet, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like you have set the unit to feet and inches, or you just like started drafting?
No, no. I've set the units to feet and inches.
Okay, so basically you drafted in real scale. That means
Yes,
you have,
sir.
yeah, you consider this as a 360 inches. That means 30 feet long. This is 60 feet long. Then
Yes, sir.
when this will be printed, I'll talk about the scale today. So when this will be printed on a paper, your scale is never constant. Remember that. If you print this drawing on a A4 sheet, your scale will be different. If you print this drawing on a A3 sheet, your scale will change. It will not remain the same. Because whenever a person, a contractor, a engineer, whoever it is, who is holding that particular drawing in hand, he will be executing that particular plan inside. He will be referring to the scale to actual world. That means if he's using a small scale, maybe a centimeter scale or a feet inches scale, he will be, for example, he is taking the scale and he's measuring this length of this particular window. Okay, he will measure it with a small scale. Maybe it will come in the paper, it will come as 2 centimeter or 1 centimeter. Maybe if it's a A4 sheet, I guess it will come around 1 centimeter. Then he will simply multiply with the number you have provided here. Okay, the scale. Then he will get the actual dimension and he will tell that the window is of this much length. I know you will provide a window schedule, you will provide everything, but still some things are not mentioned in the drawing, right? You need to understand those. For example, you have provided this, this bedroom dimension, fine, but you haven't shown the passage dimension. So in that case, what he will do, the person who will be executing, he will simply with scale he will calculate this distance. Maybe it will come 2 centimeter. Then he will multiply with this number he will be providing here in the scale, and then he will tell that okay, this is this much length. So in that case, you just imagine if he is holding a A4 sheet with your drawing printed on it, and if he is holding an A3 sheet, which is the double the size of a A4 sheet, that your drawing will be represented as a bigger image on that particular sheet. So obviously the scale he will be using, the measurements will be different. If it is double of size, maybe in A4 sheet this distance is 2 centimeter, in A3 sheet this distance is 4 centimeter. So according to that, your scale will also change. So your scale matters. So this is not a correct scale, because your scale should not be as per the what you are drafting on the AutoCAD. It should be as per the actual the building, the actual thing that is going to be constructed or built or be executed. Okay, so I'll come back to that, like how to get that scale. And apart from that, yeah, it is fine. And yeah, it is fine. Then who sent this?
Me, Manish.
Okay. So this is your number. This one. You'll enter from this direction.
Yes, sir.
So you have used that.
Yes.
You haven't showed the area. So basically you have covered the complete area. So there is some kind of separation right here, some kind of shade, because you have just simply put the staircase in. You could have shown the boundary or the, what have you planned, like to keep it open?
Yes, sir.
I mean open under the sky.
Yes, sir.
But then there in the first floor plan, there has, okay, the person will step up in this place.
Yes.
You'll have access to this. Okay. Yeah, so you should have shown some dotted lines here, basically.
Okay.
Because that will be easier for someone to understand. That because if you are because see, if these lines are not here, what will someone understand and get from the drawing? That there is a staircase, he will rise somewhere else, then he'll jump upon the car or what. So you need to show that there are dotted line just to represent the floor above it where he will land actually after
Yes.
climbing to first floor. See, I don't care about this thing basically. Putting your puja room beside the bathroom, but people are actually so much concerned about this. I think people may complain about puja room being placed right adjacent to the bathroom. So check for that. Keep a check for that.
Yes.
You can save this puja room inside the living room actually.
Yes, sir.
You can easily and yeah, easily you can do that. You can shift this to this end, or if you are like having some kind of okay, you wanted to keep this place open. Okay, fine. Then you can put this in this corner
Yes, sir.
this way. Yeah. So you have provided a backyard lawn. This bathroom with this, I think.
I will keep that bathroom in place of puja room, and puja room I will keep it in the hall. And there here I will keep a balcony.
Yeah, you can do that. That will be good. The bathroom will be here. Okay, fine. Yeah, and it will be a common bathroom. You can do that also.
Yes.
Very good. And you can also shift this entire thing. I mean, this particular setup a bit backward. If you are okay, you can increase the size of a bedroom. It is already 12 feet by 11 feet. If you shift it, I think it will become somewhere around 14 feet by 11 feet. That is fine. That will be fine. And actually, you don't need always a very big place for pujams, because in cases of this kind of plans where you have got how much square feet did you got? Like if you deduct the area for the porch or the garage kind of thing, the garage and the front part, you are getting this much area only. So this is very small area. So don't like waste your place for puja room separately. Just provide a small corner like this where you can put the idols and all those stuffs. Like you can accommodate very small place, require very small place for. Don't make it a puja room. Just write that idols and just a place to put your idols.
Yes.
And it will actually look good because your guests are coming and they're having some kind of at this corner. This is good actually. And apart from that, yeah, rest is fine. And one more thing I would mention, I don't know if people have done it or not. Yeah, like in this plan, Pritika has provided a window here. So try to avoid this. Try to avoid a window in kitchen. And it is not any kind of rule or something, because I have observed and people complaining about this. Because what happens, this is in the exact south direction, so you get to a lot of air comes in from this direction. So you can provide a window in east direction, or if your kitchen is at the west corner, you can provide at west direction as well. But try to avoid windows there. You can provide some kind of exhaust or something like that in this particular direction to extract the air from your kitchen, but like don't let the air come in from the south direction. It is not that much problematic, but still try to avoid this. It creates a lot of problem inside the kitchen. I mean, for people who are using gas burners and all those things. Okay, then talking about this plan, yeah, see, this puja room placement is perfectly fine. Then the living room, bedroom, yeah, rest of the things are completely fine. See, Pritika has already provided a SAPT here. So people who don't know what a SAPT is basically, you can say a duct kind of thing. Basically, this is a hollow space surrounded by, very thin walls or partitions. This is kept just to hide your pipelines. So from the outside of your building, you will not be able to see the pipes, water or sewage pipelines from the outside, because those everything comes under this duct. And this is important in case of, because in residential homes, like where in general, talking about very general people, they don't care about this ducts that much, or the shafts, because they generally put the pipes alongside the exterior wall, but that is not very pleasing or good. That doesn't provide any kind of aesthetics to the building, rather damage the aesthetics of the building. And at the same time, sometimes the leakage of the pipes and excessive pressure, all those creates problems on your exterior face of the wall. Those the area surrounding that particular pipeline will be damped, the colors will be deteriorated, so a lot of problems come. So it is better to provide a SAP, but people don't generally go for SAPs in small budget housings, because that obviously you have to pay and bear up a little more cost extra for the SAPs. But it obviously uh, puts some aesthetics to your building, because you are hiding all those pipelines. And not only for pipelines, even for the electrical lines, there are electrical SAPs, LEV SAPs and all those things. So if you are providing something like this, that is good. And yeah, obviously this is very smart to provide a SAPT in between two bathrooms. That is a perfect place. And this comes into picture and plays a very important role when you'll be designing or planning for apartments, because in that case your electrical line management, ELV SAPs, your MEP, I mean the plumbing pipeline, those SAPs, they plays a very big important role. And there are people who are expert just for providing SAPs and designing SAPs. So basically, in when G plus 12, G plus 13, 14, 15 story buildings are built, they hire separate people only for designing and placing the SAPs. You know why? Because the architects or the engineers who are planning the particular these floor plans, they doesn't provide SAPs. So that's why the contractor has to borrow another expert or hire another expert to just to provide SAPs. One of my friends from MTech used to do a job in that kind of a company who just provide these MEP services. His job was to just to visit the site and look at the plan and suggest, sir, this are the areas where you can place your SAPT. This will be the cost and all those technical things. So just understand, for a minor, I mean, I will say a very little lack of knowledge, because this is not a very major thing, but at the same time very important thing when you are designing a bigger house, villa, or apartments. So that is the thing. And if you are considering this at the very beginning of your plan, that is very good. And you should keep this habit actually. And try to convince your clients as well that, sir, you should go for a SAT. And yeah, the plan is fine actually. So how much offset did you took in the west side?
So just a minute, I'm just checking.
I think it is around 3 feet.
Yes, sir, it's 1100.
Okay, then it is around 3 feet 6 inches. Fine.
So I'm just concerned about if the parking space is enough for 2 cars.
I also think that because see, if the place is actually not surrounded by walls, that is manageable. But still, this looks very much congested. And one more very important thing is that if you are keeping your parking place something like this, like how Himanis has done, you get a lot of space. And I actually like this because it'll get to move or maneuver your vehicles. But in this case it is also fine. But in case of yours, how much is this? 4700 by 5200. I need to see in feet and inches. Just a second. I think it is a bit congested from the width. Your width is 4700. Yeah, it is congested. The length is fine, but the width maybe it will be a bit congested. Okay, and so fine. Let's move back to AutoCAD. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
The AutoCAD. Okay, fine. So this is one of our clients, Mr. Narayan Bera. So this is the plan where the requirements were very basic, and the plan area was around 850 or 900 square feet. And like as for his very much vastu concerns and all those his requirements, we suggested him 2-3 different layouts because the changes were regarding the dimensions of the room basically, because the positioning of the rooms were already predefined because he was so much concerned about vastu. So I'm referring to this plan just to show you how you can place your furnitures and all that I was talking yesterday. Let's say we are considering this bedroom, which is of size 12 feet by 12 feet. Just check me. Yeah, 12 feet by 12 feet. Fine. So basically in a bedroom like 12 feet by 12 feet, while you'll be placing furnitures or accommodating different facilities and elements into your drawing, one thing you should keep in mind that you should have a proper visualization of how things look in real. And if it is 10 feet, how much 10 feet, how much it is long. Okay, if it is 12 feet, maybe how much long it is. You should have a like certain idea. Maybe the room in which you are already sitting, just keep a tape with you and take measurements of the room which you are already in. Okay, just take the dimensions and you'll get an idea, pretty good idea about how much lengthier a 10 feet long wall is or 12 feet long room is, and what are the types of furnitures I can accommodate. If I put a 8 feet sofa inside a 12 feet room, then whether it will look too much clumsy or not, you cannot like say that from the picture. You have to like feel it or visualize it. Okay, so that is the thing. And try to always, if you are working with different dimensions, if you are an engineer, this is a must thing I'll suggest you next. And obviously if you are architect and interior designer, this is also important, that always carry a tape with you, a measurement tape, one side of which should be in millimeters or centimeters, and the other half should be in feet and inches. Always try to carry it with you, keep it inside your bag, and take measurements of different elements, the table you are using, the laptop you are using, the phone, the sofa, the TV, the room inside which you are. So it will basically give you a kind of what do you say, it will develop your sense. So looking at an object, you can easily understand whether this particular object, if I buy it or if I suggest it to some clients, whether it will feel clumsy, it will adjust within that particular gap or not. You will have a pretty good idea, and that you need to develop that idea. It is not something that you can easily understand. So you need to take measurements, try to remember it. Also, you can not only the tapes, also you can use your I'll switch on the video for this. Also you can use your hands for this. For example, just like keep your hands like this and measure the distance. This varies for people to people, right? The distance between, like, stretch out your fingers to the extreme extent you can for possible to you. Okay, then measure this from your thumb to the your small little finger. This distance, measure this and remember this. This will help you to measure things. And like, this is not funny, you should do this. And this is like some kind of hacks, because you will, maybe you are not always carrying different measuring tapes and all those. So measure this, maybe measuring the distance between two fingers. Okay, or maybe the length of your one finger, or this actually from within your index finger and your thumb, what is the distance between this. So measure these things actually. And also the distance from your middle finger to your elbow, this distance is, it is generally it will be somewhere around 1 feet, and it will vary person to person. But you should know this, because these are something which you will be carrying always with you, right? So you don't always need to have a measuring tape and something like that. And where this is important, for example, if someone asks you, like your friend or your relative or someone else, because you are an interior designer or you are an engineer, if he or she asks you that, beta, but I was thinking of putting tiles on my walls, so can you just roughly say how much would it cost to tile this wall? So what will you do? What will be your answer at that time? Like, okay, I don't have my measuring tapes right now, how can I say, go to YouTube, go to Google? No, these are not answers. These are, you are just proving that I don't know. But instead of that, at least if you know the dimensions of your hands and fingers and all those things, at least you can measure the length of the wall using your hand at the same time. Okay, or you can also take reference from the tiles. Okay, so see, if you can take the measurement from your hand, or if you already observe things, if you have developed the sense that how much a 10 feet long length looks like, how much a 12 feet long lengthy wall looks like, you can like roughly say that whether this wall is 10 feet long or 12 feet long. A very easier way to do it, because you cannot always measure the wall using your hands if there is some kind of objects. Okay, if you are not directly able to access the wall, maybe there are different objects placed in front of the wall, you cannot touch the wall or you cannot access the wall, or maybe you are standing outside of the house. So at that time, what you will do? How can you measure the dimensions? So what I do generally, I have in my mind, I have a table which I used to see in my hostel. Basically, the table was exactly 3 feet long. Okay, so the table was exactly 3 feet long, and I knew that 3 feet length is this much. So whenever I go to a place or see a wall, I just imagine how many tables can be accommodated in front of this wall. It will not be exact, but at least I can say that okay, 3 or maybe 3.5. So in that way, I can say that okay, this wall is I think this is around 10 feet or 11 feet. So in that way, you can also measure. And if you roughly know the length, and if you know the length of a tile, okay, basically the floor tiles are 2 feet by 2 feet long. Some are 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet long. Some are 1 meter by 1 meter long. Different kinds of tiles are there. But at least you should have a rough knowledge about how the standard tile sizes are, because the tile sizes are fixed. It is not like that some company produces 2 feet 2 feet lengthier tile, some produces 4 feet. No, more or less the dimensions are fixed. So if you roughly can tell that this wall is 10 feet long, that means if I provide 2 feet by 2 feet long tiles, then I can accommodate 5 tiles in a row, and the height of the room or height of the wall is generally 10 feet. So okay, that means I can easily provide 5 in row and 5 in a column. So that means 25 tiles can be accommodated within this wall, as this is 10 feet by 10 feet, the area of the wall. So in that way, you can easily say that okay, 25 you need 25 tiles or 24 tiles to cover up this wall, and the cost will be depending upon what type of tile you use. So at least give them some kind of answer, and this kind of confidence or answer actually leaves an impression in the people who is listening to you. He will have the idea, okay, this person's at least knows something. Because if you are measuring something without using any kind of tool, obviously you are not doing some rocket science or precision work at there. He just asked you a rough estimate, and you can give a rough estimate. You are an engineer or an architect, you're supposed to do that. These are very small things, but also very useful in cases where you are not carrying any kind of tool to measure something. At least you should have a rough idea. It will also help you while you are placing different, why I'm saying this, it will help you while you are placing different elements or objects inside the drawing. You'll get a pretty good idea, or a feeling about, okay, I am placing this furniture inside the bedroom, but I think it will create some kind of clumsiness, okay, within the room, so I shouldn't place it. So these are the important things, and that's how you can measure things without any proper tool. So coming back to AutoCAD, like how many people have already tried this, like measuring something with a random imaginary object in their mind, or using these hands and finger distances and all those things? Have anyone ever tried it before? Apurv. Apurv has done everything. He's already experienced. I can say that. That's good actually, Apurv. I can understand, because I think in the webinar also Apurv said that he wanted to become an entrepreneur, if I'm not wrong, right? Apurv?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you should know this. You need to experience these things.
My
By
legs, I usually
yeah.
measure.
For in case of floor tiles, while you will be estimating floor tiles without any kind of measuring tools, you have to use your legs. You have to use your feet. You should know, and you can easily know this. I can also say that how you can know this. See, the number of shoe or chappal you use, that is in inches. If you are using a 8 number of, if the number of your shoe or the chappal you are using, is it 6 or 7 or 8, whatever it is, that is in inches. So that means basically your from the heel to toe, the length is 6 inches. Okay, so in that way, even if you don't haven't have never measured your length of your feet, you can still say that my leg or my feet is around 6 inches, or 10 inches if you are using that number of shoe. So whenever you will be estimating a tile, how can you estimate that? Just step on the tile and measure how many steps you are taking to cover up a particular tile. In that way, you can, just use references. It can be anything. It can be the pen you are carrying in your pocket. It can be your fingers. It can be your hand, the entire hand. It can be your leg. It can be your feet. Anything, or it can be a scientific measurement tool. Even in today there are AI, what do you say, that artificial intelligence is apps which are basically developed. They uses the camera, tracks the distance, those lidar technologies and all those things, and you can measure things using the app also. But if there is a proper technology like lidar and all those things which is available in iPhones, that is good, you can rely on them. But if you are using random apps, maybe they also may give you wrong results. So better you believe on yourself, like your fingers, your hands and all those things. You are not a kid like who will also your length of the fingers will grow, because after you cross your teenage period, your growth basically stops, or it comes to a saturation point. So basically your dimension you will be measuring, it will remain at least same for 5 to 6 years at least, or even the entire rest of your life. So do measure your fingers, your hand, your feet, and also the length of your leg, the length of your feet, heel to toe distances, these things, and remember this. Okay, and it will help you. Yeah, many of you already are using it. Yeah, that is good. Good to see people are already using it. And you should use it more often, because it is not possible always to carry a tape, and people can ask you questions anywhere. You should be prepared mentally. Maybe you are not always equipped with tools, but you have your brain, so use it. That's all. So coming back to our discussion that we are talking about, yeah, bedroom. So bedroom, yeah. So we have some kinds of beds, fine. So I'm using this simple, very simple, basic bed. Control C, copy, and I'll paste it here. Control V. You can see this is very small. I'm clicking. This is very small. Okay, right? Just scale. I'm scaling it. Maybe 150 times. This is too big. Okay, so now I need to place that bed inside my bedroom. So first you need to decide in which direction or orientation you want to provide the bed. Maybe just right below the window, but that is not a very good option, because in rainy seasons or in the very morning, the sunlight can also hamper your sleep. So in this particular room orientation, I will suggest you to put your bed in this wall side. Okay. So before that, you obviously need to know what will be a standard size of a two-sized bed. So if you are starting from scratch, I'll suggest you just simply go to Google. Is it visible? My Google Chrome page.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just simply size the standard bed sizes in inches or in centimeters, whichever unit you are using. So I searched in inches, and it is showing that twin XL, full queen size bed, king size bed, different kind of bed sizes. So you can refer to one of them, because if you don't have any kind of sense about what should be the dimension, at least you can refer to someone. But these are not anything standard, because a bed size always vary, depend upon what the client exactly need actually, and what is the purpose of his bed. Maybe he doesn't use bed that much. Maybe he has a separate workstation or working table for doing his other things. So that depends. And so in this case, that's why let's take this twin XL. Okay, this is 39 inch by 80 inch. So basically I will take this particular, so 39 inch width, right? So I'll simply draw a line of 39 inch. So you can see this line length, this is 3 feet 3 inch, that is 39 inch. So I'll first place this line where I want to place it. See, it is here. And now I'll simply select my object, hit align, enter. And one more way of doing is, obviously you can calculate this length like this. Okay, 18 feet 9 inch. Then you can measure this length that you have drawn. Okay, then you can divide 18 feet 9 inch, 18 feet 9 inch divided by 3 feet 3 inch. That is basically something around 6 or something. Then you can scale it down. So that is a very lengthy and tedious work. So align is the shortcut. Al, enter. Just align the lines, like this corner will be at this place, and this corner will be at this place. Then hit enter and click yes. So it is perfectly fitted. So now you can say that, now you can see also, actually observe that if you are providing a twin XL bed within a room of 12 feet by 12 feet, how much place or how much space it is occupying basically. So this is the way you can do it. And I think twin XL is something kind of very small size. Yeah, it is small because it is only 3 feet by 3 inch. How can be this bed for two people? I don't think it is a bed. Let's search for standard.
6 by 6 is the standard to bedded.
Yeah, it should be at least 6 feet long or 5 feet long. I mean, sorry, width. The width should be that much at least. Yeah, see, this is 80 inches. 39 inches, way too small. That is like for single bedded actually. So we can use this 80 inches. 80 inches by how much? What is the length? 98. Let's say we are using a grand king bed. Let's see how much space it will occupy. So again, what we'll do, we can use this line actually. This was 39 inches. Okay, let's delete it. Okay, this will be too much big at the same time. So you cannot use that. So you need to have some kind of in between that value. So we can go for 72 inches, or if 72 inches is basically 6 feet. So even if we are not considering 6 feet, if you are going for 5 feet, it will be 60. We can do that, like for 60. Yeah, this is the size. So again, aligning this. So this will be the bed. Now it looks like pretty much, acceptable, because it is covering almost the area. And you can also see the length. It is 6 feet 8 inches, almost 7 feet. Fine, it is fine. So in that way, you can, place your furnitures and all those things. Don't think that you will simply copy the templates and place it. No, you should have a proper idea about what you are placing, where you are placing, and how much place it is going to occupy. I know this is just for a representation purpose. This has nothing to do with the 3D. But obviously, if you are doing it in a right way at the time of 2D, your labor and your hard work at the time of 3D will be reduced by a great amount. You need to put less labor or less effort while you'll be doing the 3D. You will not extract like your this furnitures and all those things. This will not be used in 3D obviously, but at least it will give you an idea that how much my objects will be, what will be the length and how much area it is going to occupy in 3D. So you'll get a pretty much good idea if you are doing it very right and in a proportionate way in 2D itself. So in the same way, you can place this, do the for the other things. And in this case, the staircase was provided something like this. They wanted a bigger living room. That's why we shifted the wall of the living room to this extent, because this is just a waiting room, like kind of guests will come and sit and chat, that's all. So for that same purpose, we got an extra space like this where we provided a storeroom. You can also do this, providing a storeroom beneath the staircase. So you can visualize or understand that this is the first flight. You are going in this direction, then this is the landing, then you are coming back in this direction. The arrow is wrong. Okay. So you are going in this direction and coming in this direction. So what happens? You can imagine that behind this place there is a huge gap from the ground level. So that gap or that space has been utilized as a storeroom. So basically, if I draw elevation for this, the storeroom from this side, from right to left, it will look something like this. Are you able to visualize it? It will look something like this. It will not be a rectangular storeroom. It will be something like this. Maybe the doors will be like this. Okay, this will be a storeroom, very small storeroom, because this slanted portion, this is staircase, nothing else. This is your first floor, where the people, and this is the ground floor. Okay, this is the ground floor level and this is the first floor level. And another stair is something like this. Are you getting it? Not the complete portion. This will be dotted actually, because this is the first flight, and the landing will be somewhere around this place, and then this is the second flight. And this space behind the stair, this is being used like a storeroom, which you can see here. Are you able to visualize it? So in this way, you can also utilize the space that is left beneath the staircase actually. So you cannot like yeah, you can do it also in the first floor. So this is a good thing to consider. And yeah, that's how you can place your furnitures. Then if you want to, yeah, then we can start the dimension thing. We are having still time left for that. So when I'm talking about texts or dimensions, you know that that is under this tab, Annote tab. Basically, we use multi-line texts just to write in this order, and we use also dimensions. And there you can set the text styles. You can click here. You can go to text styles. Okay. Then if you want to create a new text style, just click on new. Then rename it. Just name it internship. Maybe we are giving it. Then click OK. And you can set your text height here. Okay, you can select the text font, the text style, whether you need bold, italic, or regular. I'll suggest you to keep it regular. Don't put italic text. Maybe you see it fancy, but it doesn't actually help at all while reading the drawings. A very bold, sharp, clean text is always preferable. I always prefer you go for Times New Roman font, or maybe Arial. Arial is also good, or maybe any kind of sans serif fonts or bold fonts. Like I use Helvetica. I basically use Times New Roman or a lot, because after printing, I don't know, but Times New Roman gives a very good feeling, very clean, very standard font. And this Arial font is also good and clean. You can also use this as well. So it depends. Maybe you prefer some different fonts, but just remember that your font shouldn't be something like Comic Sans MS, or some handwritten kind of thing. It should be bold and it should be clear, not any kind of calligraphic fonts and all those things. So you can set the text height here as per your wish. Now comes the point that how much should I give for my text height? How much should it be? So the same thing, the same concept which I'm going to teach you now will also be used in dimensions. And so I'll come back to that. So before that, I want to just share that. So in that way, you can set your text styles, like the text style that are used here. Then dimension. Okay, these are different text style that has already been used in this drawing. And also from here, there will be a list the text heights you are using within that particular style. So under dimension style, the person who plotted this plan used 2-3 different types of fonts, like one font which is 8 feet 4 inches length here. Then maybe this thing he's talking about, I don't know, the bigger font. Or then there is 3-inch heighted font, 280 font, different text heights. Okay, 280 is nothing but the default annotation size in AutoCAD. After once you set the dimensions, it is gonna come under the unit you are using. Okay, so then coming to the dimension parts, in the same way you can come here, and a lot of things are there which you need to know and learn about dimensions. So let's go for a new, and it will ask you to create a new dimension style by copying a previous one. So maybe you are already using a particular set of dimensions, okay, which you have already been using. So let's say in this case we are using D125. So maybe you want to modify this older one. Okay, so what you can do is create a new and start with give it a name. Let's say I am giving it internship. Then start with which one? you can use any basic old, already existing dimension style. These are all created by me. If you are using the whatever for the first time, you will be having this annotative and standard only. Okay, so let's suppose I'm using D250. Okay, or let's suppose I'm using this new plan residential which I was using today. So I'll start with this. So basically now the window which will come, yeah, this window, the things that are being shown here are as per the uh, font that I used, actually the style that I use already. So I can modify that. So I can start with something, not like with a zero. Okay, so here you can see in the first tab there is line. Basically you can select the line type, whether you want it to be a bold block line or you want it dashed, whichever style you want. Then the line width, how much thick do you want your line to be. Then the baseline spacing is there. Baseline spacing means that from the line to the text, that, sorry, I'm talking about baseline spacing. Yeah, the line to the object you will be annotating that there is a very small spacing. So don't worry about this. Let it be as it is. You can also provide it 0. Nothing to worry about. That is completely fine. But don't put any bigger values. It will show up at a very greater distance. Then you can select the colors. Then come into the symbols. Now comes the important part. What should be the the symbol, the arrow size. So obviously it depends on your seed size. Your arrow shouldn't be so small that it is almost or barely visible in the printed drawing sheet, or at the same time your arrow should not be very much big so that it blocks any kind of object or blocks the viewer's view. Okay, it shouldn't be very absurd. It should be at a proper size. So how do you know the length of the arrow? This also comes from the same concept that I'll tell you next, and the text height as well. Okay, so generally I'll suggest that use maximum 2 different text sizes. Okay, the text sizes you are seeing here, T125, T500, these are all predefined in this particular text style. These are the text style I already set, okay, according to different scales. So you can also use that, or you can manually type as well. Just click on annotative and you can manually set the text height for this diamond, showing the dimensions. Or you can use any predefined text styles that you are using already. Then comes to the, one more important thing is the text alignment. How you want to align your text. You can do it horizontally. Basically your text will always be horizontal irrespective of the object you are showing. Okay, this object is inclined one, but you see the text is horizontal and aligned with dimension line. That means the dimension line, the direction of the dimension line, with that line itself the text will be aligned. And then there is ISO standard. So I will always recommend to use ISO standard, because that is a specific standard that is mentioned in BIS. So your drawing would be very standardized drawing. It doesn't matter that much, but still it will be as per the standard, so you don't have to worry about that. And this horizontal thing is also good because you will not be needing to rotate your drawing to read the dimensions of the text. So that is a good thing from one point of view. You'll be holding it in a particular direction and you can read the entire drawing. You don't need to rotate your drawing around this thing. But still I'll prefer you to use ISO standard because that is standard. That's all. Then fit, you can provide some kind of scales here. Yeah, that is basically the fit. I mean, how much, whether you if the length of the text is very much long, than the actual dimension. Suppose you are showing a dimension for a 3 feet long or 3 feet width door, and the door font you are typing its length is itself lengthier than 3 feet, then how it is going to be fit? So beside the dimension line, over the dimension line, so these are different things. You can check them once, apply, and see how the results is going to come. Okay, so but I'll suggest that keep it as default, don't worry about that. Yeah, then comes the primary unit part. This is important, and that is where you are gonna learn something new. I said you in the previous class that even if you set your drawing unit as feet and inches, you can still show the dimensions in millimeters, and this is the tab where you want have to work behind that. For example, let me see. This is a drawing. Yeah, let me take this example actually. Okay, so you already have seen that if I take this measurement tool and measure something, it will take the measurements in the units that I have set by default at the starting of drafting when I set the unit of the page. Okay, so this is basically in feet and inches. So obviously the units are in feet and inches. You can also check. See, it is in engineering feet and inches, and also in feet, not in inches. So the basic unit is in feet. So yeah, that's good. So basically this is in FPS system, feet and inches. So now suppose the dimensions are also shown in feet and inches. Now you want to show these dimensions in mm. So what will you do? You'll simply go to dimensions, create a new kind of dimensions for, say, suppose I'm creating a new one, copy of ISO 25, okay. And coming to primary units. Now see, this is in engineering, completely fine. The precision you want, I want to show it in feet and inches. If you want to show it in feet inches dot zero, that means 5.5 inches, 5.1 inches. You want to show your inches into decimals, that is fine. You can select this, or else no need to select that, because if you do that, every dimension will gonna show in 5.0, 6.0. That is very annoying. So let's just keep it simple, 0 feet 0 inches. And then you can also do the round off thing to avoid that. You can select, for example, you are doing in 0 feet 0.0 inches and set round off to 5 inches or 6 inches actually. So you can do that also. It will show in half inches and or maybe 1/3 inches. So according to that you can select it, or let's keep it 0. And the thing, yeah, so talking about mm, so basically this sheet is in fits. Okay, fine. So we are gonna create a new dimension. Let okay, create a new, keep it, say it is ISO, let's keep it ISO 25 millimeter. I'm renaming it as this. So in the primary unit section, you can see there is a scale factor. So what I'm doing, you can at a time apply this particular scale factor to all the dimensions within your sheet. But maybe you don't want to show dimensions in all the drawings. Maybe you want to show in particular a very specific part. So at that time, don't need to like click on this, select this, leave it blank, and put the scale. So what will be the scale? So this is basically this sheet is in fits. Okay. So how AutoCAD works? you need to understand that whenever you are setting the unit at the beginning of drafting in feet. So have you ever tried drafting without setting the units? Have anyone ever tried? Hello, are you there? Like, have anyone ever tried drafting without setting the units? Let me show you actually what happens. You will understand it properly. Let me start with a very yeah. So this is a complete new drawing sheet. I haven't set any dimensions. I'm gonna like draw some lines. So you can see whenever I'm trying to draw something, the numbers are showing, and this is basically annotative dimensions, or what can you say? Just simple numbers, the units that AutoCAD uses within itself. It is not in meter, not in millimeter, not in feet, anything. Let's say I'm entering 30 here. So this is a line whose length is 30. I don't know whether it is feet, whether it is millimeter, whether it is meter, whether it is inches, nothing. This is nothing, just 30 units. So whenever I am setting the units and keeping it inch and clicking OK, now what will happen? Just measure this line. This is showing 30. That means what? Now this line is 30 inches long. That means whenever you are setting the units as inches, AutoCAD will convert or consider all its basic unit as inches. So when I first plotted this line with let's say the unit system that AutoCAD is using behind it, the coding or behind the software is unit. So AutoCAD's 30 unit has now been converted to 30 inches because I have set my primary unit as inches. So in the same way, in a drawing where you are drawing in feet, so in this particular sheet, the basic unit is in feet. So whatever length you are watching or seeing here, okay, let's measure this within this with this measurement tool. So this is 30 feet 8 inches. That means AutoCAD has converted 30, what can you say, 30 feet 8 inches. That means that is almost 31.75 feet, we can say, if I'm not wrong, or 31.67, whatever. So, or if I take this example, this is in round figure, it will be easier to understand. Yeah. So this particular line is 12 feet. That means in AutoCAD has converted this line, or considering this line which is of 12 unit, as 12 feet. So if I need to show this same line in millimeters, how much it will be? So one AutoCAD unit is now set into 1 feet, and you want to show that in MMs. So you need to understand that I am trying to represent the unit as in mm. So the new style that I'm gonna build, let's say again do it and write it in millimeter. So the scale I want to provide is, I need to calculate 1 feet is equals to how much mm. Say how much mm it is. Hello.
Can you repeat? Hello, can you repeat? What are you asking?
Yeah. See. I'm saying you that before converting any kind of unit, you need to first understand that how AutoCAD works. Okay. So AutoCAD has some codings behind it, has its own dimensioning style. You are defining AutoCAD. I want to set the basic units to fit. I want to set the basic units to inches. I want to set the basic units to millimeters in the very beginning of the drawing. So in the same way, in this particular drawing, you can see that the basic unit is in feet. Okay, so I have defined that AutoCAD each unit of it would be in feet. Okay, so I have defined that the basic unit will be in feet. So if now I want to show it in millimeters, so if I change that, what will happen? Let's just see. If I change this to millimeter, what will happen? If you click this OK, entire dimensioning will be wrong. The thing which is now showing as 17 feet 7 inches, it will now show that 17 point something millimeter. But that is not true. Your kitchen width is not 17 millimeter. That is very small. But if you had like if you change this within here after completing your drafting, if you set this to millimeter now, what it will do, it will simply set that okay, now the user is trying to say each basic simple unit will be in millimeters. So 17 feet will be now 17 millimeters. So that is not true, right? So basically what you have to do, you have to select set a new dimension style, and then you have to put the scale as you need to calculate this scale. So now what will be the scale? The basic unit is in feet, and the unit you are trying to convert is into millimeters. So you need to know 1 feet is equals to how much millimeters. So 1 feet is basically 3048 millimeters. Okay. So the scale would be 3048 millimeter, 3048 the scale would be. So if I now click OK.
It will be a multiple of like that 3048, right? Like scaling will be done on 3048 case.
Simply, see, if you simply change your AutoCAD basic units from feet to millimeter after drafting something, so it will show 17 feet as 17 millimeter, 17 feet, 15 feet as 15 millimeter, 12 feet as 12 millimeter. But 12 feet is not 12 millimeter. 12 feet is 12 into 3048 millimeter, right? So your scale is 3048. Yeah, in simple language you can say it that way. And also at the same time you need to also
It's 304.8 millimeter.
304 okay 1 feet, right? Yeah, 1 feet is 304.8 millimeter, right? Thanks for correcting. So, and also at the same time you will be not be using the feet and inches style now, so you need to change this to decimal. Okay, and you can set the precision up to how much decimal you want it. So let's say we are desiring for a 0.0 less decimal. Okay, then hit OK and close it. And also you need to set it as set current and close. Now see, this was your older one. See, I am selecting this. This is ISO 25 style. And now if I'm selecting copy of ISO 25 that I just created and taking the same dimension again. See, it is showing 60,000 60,085.7. This formatting is also not so good. I'll change that. Just a second. Yeah, decimal separator, you need to change this to period. It was comma, that's why it was showing comma. Just change it to period. And also if you want to show it in meters, you can also do that. So at that time you need to, what would be your scale? 1 feet is equals to how much meter? It is 0.3048 simply. So your scale would be 3.3048. Okay, then set current, and as you can see, still this is not right, I think. Just a second. decimal to let me do it in another sheet. I think this sheet has some kind of problem. Yeah, for example, this one. Okay, this is in millimeters, and you can also see the units. This is in millimeter, perfect. And I can also show you that if I'm taking this measurement tool and measuring this length, this is 2590.8. That is almost 2591. Okay, that's why I have written the width is 2591 for this shop too. Okay, so this is in millimeter basically. Now if I want to show it in feet and inches, now let's just go to this. I already had set it. I'll show you that. So you know that my seat is in millimeters. Okay, so now I want to show the millimeter into feet and inches, right? So what will be 1 millimeter in feet? Let's just see that. So 1 millimeter is basically 0.00328 feet. And if I reverse that, yeah. So how much it is? 1 millimeter is 0. You can see that in calculator if it is visible. 1 millimeter is 0.03937 inches. That is already written here. 0.0393701. So that should be my scale. Why? Because my sheet was already in millimeter. Now I want to show the dimensions in feet and inches. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just converting it from millimeter to inches. So the dimensions I'll be showing, it should be converted from millimeter to inches. So 1 millimeter is equals to this much inch. That's why the scale is this much, 0.0393701, or you can also add one or two more decimals just for accuracy purpose. And I have set the precision to 0 feet 0 inches and set it in engineering. Okay, and I hit it okay, and I named this as new plan commercial. And if I set it as current, just see, it will show you 17 feet. And you can also cross check that whether 17 feet is 5182 millimeter or not. See, 17 feet is 5181.6 millimeter. That's why I have written 5182 millimeter. I have rounded it off. Okay, so that is how you can show your dimensions. And I'll always prefer that what you need to do, just prepare a sheet and set the dimension style one in, and like set the basic dimension of your, or basic unit of your sheet in millimeters, because that is very much standard. Feet and inches are basically used for constructional purpose, because the most of the laborers and the people, they are like accustomed with feet and inches style, so they are not that much always familiar to millimeter and meter style. But you should always do it in millimeters, because that is the SI standard, you can say SI unit system, and that is accepted in globally. So you should do that in that style. And also your different elements and different objects, maybe fridge and everything, they give you the dimensions in centimeters or millimeters, and that is easily convertible if you are using a millimeter system. And for showing or representation purpose, just set a dimension style in feet and inches, so that you can easily end time do that. I can quickly switch back to the millimeter one. See, I just need to select it and click it. So I have two things: new plan residential, which is in millimeters, and new plan commercial, which is in feet and inches. So the same thing, I can show it in feet and inches, I can show it in millimeters whenever I want, just with one click. That is what I was talking about on that day. And every one of you must need to know this, because it will be very much useful. You don't need to each time calculate and convert from feet and inches and show it again and again. Just do this, and you can easily represent your drawing in a much easier way, and your dimensioning style will be flexible basically. So in that way you can do it. And apart from that, yeah, the thing I was talking about, let's take example of that sheet only. For example, yeah, this arrow style, how much this particular arrow length or height should be. Okay, so in this case, let's say I'm modifying this one. So always try to provide the symbol size same as the arrow size. Okay, let's suppose your text height, I am using T125, the text height is basically 280, and if I want to change this to another value, I can click annotative and I can manually type it, maybe 250. I want the text height to be 250 mm. Okay, and how it is 250 mm? Because my primary unit of the sheet is in millimeters, so the value you are entering here, it is already in millimeter. Okay, annotative means that, annotative meaning is that whatever your unit is, you are entering in that unit only. So 250 means this is 250 mm, your text height is 250 mm. Then you need to define the arrow size. Your arrow size should be the same as the text height, or maybe a little less. If you make your arrow size bigger than your text size, it looks very bad. You can try this, explore. Just let's keep it 300 and let's see what happens. Okay, click OK, set current, close. In this case, it might not be looking that much bad, because it is kind of wide and the arrow height is not that much long, but sometimes it looks very bad. And you can change the arrow size also as well. The jog angle, you can select the jog angle, everything you can do that. So basically keep your text height and arrow size almost near, keep the values near about. And what should be the values actually, like how you need to define the values? It depends on your sheet, because whenever you are holding a particular drawing sheet, your text heights and font sizes, that should be clear enough to be easily read or easily understood. Okay, and about that I'm gonna talk in the next session. Okay, so how you can adjust your drawing within a particular sheet, and I think that will be the last session for AutoCAD. because I'll talk about how to put the job descriptions and how to represent the schedulings and all those things. What are the elements that should be there in your drawing? Basically, it will be a overall finishing, or if requires, we can also extend the AutoCAD class to 2 more days. So either up to Monday or maybe up to Tuesday. After that, we will be switching back to 3D modeling. So anyone having doubt regarding today's sessions? Or like anyone was already using this? I think many of you might have been already using this feet and inches to within the drawing. Or some people, what they do, I also used to do that. The tricks or whatever I'm teaching you, that this is nothing that I learned from somewhere else. I just explored, and this is my way. Maybe there is also a more refined way. You can find it yourself. But till now, whatever I have learned, this is my way and how I feel comfortable, or this is you can say a smart work that I actually discovered. Many of the people are already using it, or maybe there are some more advanced or very shortcut ways. But I don't think there is anything else rather than this to show dimensions. And what I used to do in the earlier stages, that let's suppose this drawing is in so I'll be copying the entire thing, then open a new drawing sheet. For what I used to do, I think many of you are already doing it. Let me just show it. I used to just copy the entire thing, then go to a new sheet, then paste it. I don't know where did it gone. So then start to convert from feet to inches, then calculate the scale from calculator, then scale the object there. That's how I used to do. But you can do it within one sheet only in this way. Just you need to have 2 separate dimension styles. That's all. And you can easily represent the same drawing within feet and inches and within millimeter as well. So any kind of doubt, or how many of you are already using it? Apurv?
Using it.
No, sir.
Apurv wasn't using it. Okay. So Apurv learned something new. I'm honored. That's good. And anything else? Any doubts? Did you get actually? Because this is very important. This is a very, very common thing you will come across, in each and every project. You'll start in millimeters. The person will ask you to provide the dimension in feet and inches, or maybe you are starting with feet and inches. The person will ask you to give it in millimeters. So at the same time, you need to redo all the things again. No, just simply set 2 different dimension styles, and you can, within one click, you can change it. Yeah, obviously you need to retype these things, because this is basically a text. So you need to retype this thing, but the dimensions you will be showing, you can change it within a one click. And that will also will not take that much time, because if your dimension style is in feet and inches, let's say like this, you can easily measure this. Let's say this is 8 feet 6 inches and this is 17 feet. So you can easily double click and type it. Just no need to use any calculators, no need to convert anything. It's already done. So if you don't have any kind of doubt, we can end today's session. I hope you learned something new today. Try to apply it. And also you can start drafting the first floor plan, because I see many of the people due to the space constraint, has done something which is not acceptable, like excessive large bathrooms, or maybe the parking space is not that much adequate. But now you will get the freedom, because you will have a lot of more space to utilize in the first floor, almost a space of worth 2 bedroom sizes, but you have to make 3 bhk, so you will be having a lot more space. Almost how much square feet it is? Around 1600 or 1500 square feet you will get, I think, leaving the offsets outside of the building. So let's get into that and start drafting the first floor plan. Let's see what you come up with, because you have already crossed the hardest or the harder part of the planning, you know, because the planning of this, first floor was bit harder because of the space constraint. You need to accommodate 2 bhk, at the same time puja rooms, living room, staircase, and parking as well. But in the first floor, you can use this whole parking space. And if I consider this model, you'll get a lot of more space to accommodate just only one extra bedroom. So you can rearrange the things and make use of the space. But at the same time, remember that the position of the columns or the walls shouldn't change. So you can shift the position of the walls basically, but don't try to shift it that much, because it will cost in beams. You need to provide beams under the walls, and at the same time, because of that beams, maybe you need to accommodate another extra column. So that's why just try to maintain the pattern or the outline that you have maintained in ground floor, and carry that up to the first floor. And what thing you can do is, you can provide some kind of separations, like some kind of screens, some kind of wooden wall maybe, which is less heavier and doesn't require a beam underneath it. So that is basically a partition wall or something, separation wall kind of thing, not a permanent brick wall. So you can do that. And maybe while you will be doing the first floor, you get to come across a very good idea, and due to that you need to have to do some changes in the ground floor plan as well. So you can do that also. And let's see what you come up with, and move forward with the first floor plan, and also use and try these dimension styles that you learned today in your drawings. Okay.
I have some question about the first floor plan regarding designing that. So if I have a garage of 20 by 18, so in the ground floor, so I don't I need to put one column between the distance of 20 feet, and so if I want to divide that garage area on the first floor into the lawn and in a room, so can I put a wall between that?
So basically, where is your plan? Like, is it something like similar to this that I can draw upon this? So you are asking that you want to construct a floor above it, and there will be a lawn.
Yeah.
Like kind of a balcony.
Yeah, open terrace and room.
Open, yeah. So suppose this will be your kind of the rooms, and this will be your balcony kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay, so what you are asking to provide a wall where? In this place?
No, between that.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to provide a wall, because if you are dividing it into two separate rooms, in that case you have to provide a wall.
Beneath that, I don't have any column.
So that is the thing. So first you need to understand that what is the length. Okay. So suppose the length will be around 26 feet or 27 feet, I guess. If you are keeping If you are like offsetting 2 feet, then it will be 26 feet. The span is 26 feet. So obviously within a 26 feet, at least you have to provide 3 columns like this. So in that case, it is causing a problem, right? So what can be the solution? The solution can be steel columns. If you will make it a composite structure, so it depends. Now this is a benefit of doing this thing as an engineer, that you can have the option whether you want to keep your architectural design same and bring changes in structural detailing, or you want to keep the structural system very simple and want to bring changes in architectural design. So basically what happens in general projects, architect is the person who works first on the plan, then it goes to the structural designer. So basically the structural designer has to face the problem, or sometimes it is also through a discussion between a structural engineer and the architect. They sit and they discuss what are the changes they can do. So I suppose that as an architect or as a planner, you have already decided this to provide these 2 rooms and a balcony in front of that. So the only option left is to the structural engineer. He has to somehow do this and get it done. So in that case, if you talk about general RCC buildings, you can go for cantilevers of maximum length 4 feet to 5 feet for cantilever. I'm saying in general. Okay, you can go for trapezoidal beams, but still you cannot accommodate more than 6 feet of cantilever. So in that case, what you can do, if you want to avoid this middle interior column, you need to provide some kind of steel beams. Like the pillars or the columns will be of RCC columns, but you can provide a steel beam here, and this will act as a secondary beam which will rest upon a column at this end, and is not erasing. So as a column at this end, this will be a column, and here it will rest upon this beam only. Okay, so that can be a solution for this kind of span. And if you are like still want to avoid any kind of steel sections, okay, like you want to do it complete RCC building, in that case you need to think of something else. You need to have to bring changes into your plan.
Okay, I have the first floor plan. I will share it today. So I need your suggestion about that. So I will
definitely.
I will send you that. And
so yeah, this is something, this kind of problem where you need to have a discussion with the structural engineer. And if you are a civil engineer, or say if you're from civil, so in this case you get a advantage about the architects, that you get to decide that if I go for this kind of design, then what can be the consequences while I'll be designing the structural detailing part. So that is the benefit. And at the same time, in general, what happens, architect is as I said earlier, that architect will be the first person to do it aesthetic, to look over the aesthetics and plan, and then the structural engineer has to decide that to keep intact that particular aesthetic or the plan that the architect has drafted, what are the changes I can do. Any lot of options are there. For example, if you still want to do it in RCC, you can simply provide, instead of providing, let me just erase it. Yeah, so instead of providing a column here, obviously we'll be providing 2 columns at the 2 ends. You can provide 2 small columns like this, and your beam will be easily rested over the 27 feet span, and at the same time this beam can also rest over this beam. So that can also be another option. Are you getting, Simon?
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Yeah. So there are a lot of options. So you can, you like, I have to see your plan, and accordingly I can suggest you something.
Okay, I will send you that.
Yeah. And one more important thing is that, that's why, there are, I have seen memes where people compare the architects and engineers, and like this is completely rubbish and wrong, because everyone is mastering their own field. And no, there is nothing kind of the people who don't have proper knowledge, sufficient knowledge, they generally fight with architects, or they generally fight with engineers. But the people, if the engineer is capable enough or knowledgeable enough, he can do any kind of design as per the architect's drawing. So if you are, as an engineer, if you are unable to implement the idea the architect had thought of, then you are lacking your engineering knowledge. That's all. Don't blame on the architect. And at the same time, if the architect is doing like too much unconceptual things, it is, I'll not say that restrict your thinking idea, but at the same time you need to understand that who will be the engineer to implement your idea. You need to see that whether the engineer that will be assigned is quite knowledgeable enough, he can understand your designing or your artistic point of view, whether he is capable enough to uh, do the structural detailing of your complex design. So you need to understand that, because or else what will happen, maybe your design is actually implementable, but the engineer is not having that much knowledge. So the client will realize that, okay, this architect is designing too much hypothetical. So you need to understand that who is the person I'm working with. Okay. And it is always better to have a discussion with the structural engineer before submitting a plan to the client. I'll suggest that. Maybe the structural engineer is not associated with that project, but at least you make a friend, or you come in contact with different structural engineers who basically designs these things, and just ask him that whether this design is practically feasible or not. Just simply you can ask that, and you can do that, and it will make your design more practical from point of view of application. Okay. And there is nothing such, I have seen many posts, social media posts and all those things, like architects and engineer always have a clash and all those kind of things. No, a clash will only come when there is a lack of knowledge. That's all. So that is why I take that much interest in architecture, and like instead of being a structural engineer, I still take interest in architecture in that way, just because I'm a bit creative. I like these stuffs, and also at the same time I like challenges. I like that the different difficulties or complexity with which an architect will come, and how I can give a solution to that. That's how I keep learning, and that is my approach. And the people who always tell that the architect is too much hypothetical, his design is not implementable, no, your knowledge is too short, or maybe you are not getting the things properly. That's all. So let's end today's session here. Okay. Good night, everyone. See you on Monday.
Good night.
Good night.